The Indian government has convened a special session of the Parliament between the 18th and the 22nd of September. 18th and 22nd of September. The Union Minister of Parliamentary Affairs, Prahlad Joshi, posted on social media that there would be 5 sittings of the special session. There is no official word on the agenda of the session, which will be held days after the G20 summit in India's national capital. At least 73 people have died after a fire broke out in a block of flats in Johannesburg in South Africa. A search and recovery operation is underway and firefighters are moving through the building. The team has pulled 73 bodies out so far. According to the authorities, the fire had been largely extinguished, but smoke still seeped out of windows of the blackened building. The cause of the fire remains unclear. Indian civic authorities are trying out unique ways to scare away monkeys from the diplomatic corridors of New Delhi ahead of the G20 summit. The New Delhi Municipal Corporation is using methods like mimicry and cutouts of langurs to scare away the animals. Many in Hindu-majority India revere and feed the monkeys as they are considered to be connected to the god Hanuman, who takes the form of a monkey. New Delhi is scheduled to host the G20 summit from the 9th to the 10th of September, with several key dignitaries like US President Joe Biden, the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, and the French President Emmanuel Macron expected to attend. Distressed farmers in the Indian state of Assam have sought help from authorities as floods triggered by an overflowing Brahmaputra river swallowed vast areas of land. The agricultural land area submerged by the floods increased to 22,000 hectares from 3,000 hectares over the past 1 week. The continuous torrential rains, especially from Sunday, have brought a lot of trouble to the locals as they relocated to higher grounds and are without food and water. Heavy monsoon being a yearly occurrence in Assam, resulting in flooding and landslides, which forced the residents to flee their homes, often leaving behind their belongings. At least 5 railway workers were killed, 2 were injured in northern Italy after being hit by a train while conducting overnight maintenance work. As per the officials, the train, which was transporting wagons on the Milan-Turin line and had no passengers, was travelling at 160 kilometers per hour when it hit the workers. And according to local media, workers were replacing parts of the track. Paris is saying its final goodbye to e-scooters, with operators clearing them off the streets ahead of a complete ban. Tourists hoping to roam the city of lights paved streets on a rented e-scooter only have a week left to do so before the electric vehicles are forever banned from the city. The ban follows a referendum held by the city of Paris on the 2nd of April, when 89% of the voters rejected the rented e-scooters on the streets of the capital. This comes after 24 people died in 2021 in scooter-related accidents in France. TIER, one of the operators, has been removing 400 scooters per day over the last 2 weeks. The German company says it will offer electric bicycles instead. Thailand's jailed former Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra has requested a royal pardon of an 8-year jail term. Shinawatra is in jail on being convicted for graft and abuse of power. The former telecoms tycoon returned to Thailand last week in a dramatic homecoming, arriving on a private jet and greeting supporters before being moved to a prison. On his first night in jail, he was transferred to a police hospital, with authorities citing chest pain and high blood pressure. ate fish caught off Fukushima's coast to alleviate fears after the controversial release of the treated radioactive water from the Fukushima plant. Japan started the water discharge last week in a key step towards decommissioning the Fukushima nuclear plant. The nuclear facility suffered triple meltdowns after being hit by a tsunami in 2011. Kishida's lunch meeting was mainly aimed at dispelling the possible negative impact of the discharged water on human health and on fishery products. Following a coup, the Gabon junta has appointed General Brice Oligui as the transition leader, while the ousted president Ali Bongo posted a video online asking the international community to support him and his family. If successful, the Gabon coup would be the 8th in West and Central Africa since 2020 and end the Bongo family's 56-year grip on power. The coup came immediately after the election results, where Bongo was declared the winner. However, the Gabonese army has dismissed the results. Sudan is grappling with worsening fuel shortage. Armed conflict has led to the shutdown of Sudan's largest oil refinery and further disrupted the supply chain. Due to high prices, many residents turn to the black market, where the price of gasoline is 3.5 times the official price. 4 months into the clashes between the Sudanese armed forces and the paramilitary rapid support forces, large parts of Sudan have been bearing the brunt of violence. In Port Sudan, most gas stations have been forced to close after running out of fuel. The Iranian foreign minister visits Syria and slams a visit by the U.S. delegation in northern Syria. Hossein Amir Abdollahian says U.S. leaders should leave the region to its people while addressing a press conference in Damascus with his Syrian counterpart, Faisal Meghdad. Abdollahian's comments coming amid reports of increased U.S. troop movement in Syria. Malaysia is celebrating its 66th Independence Day in the administrative capital of Putrajaya. More than 20,000 people have taken part in parades that involve flag-waving, uniformed personnel and military vehicles. The Southeast Asian nation, known then as Malaya, was freed from British colonial rule in 1957 before taking on the name Malaysia in 1963. Indigenous groups from across Brazil are staging protests in Brasilia against a bill that threatens their ancestral territories. Indigenous people marched and rallied outside the Supreme Court to condemn draft legislation that could limit the indigenous people's land rights. The proposed law would impose a cutoff date for ancestral land claims. In 1988, the year Brazil's current constitution was enacted, indigenous activists rejected the bill, arguing that many indigenous peoples were historically expelled from their ancestral territories, especially during the military dictatorship. United Nations sanctions in Mali set to end today following a veto from Russia. 13 out of the 15 UN Security Council members were in favor of the proposal that would have extended the UN sanctions and independent monitoring for another year.
Has not been adopted.
However, Russia exercised its veto power to block the proposal, while China abstained from voting. Hurricane Idalia tore into Florida, splitting trees in half and ripping roofs of houses, leaving flooded streets and thousands without electricity. Video footage and photographs from the region around Idalia's landfall showed ocean waters washing over highways and neighborhoods. After coming ashore, Idalia made landfall near Keaton Beach as a high-end Category 3 hurricane with winds clocking almost 205 kilometers per hour. Hundreds of firefighters are trying to put out blazes near the Russian Black Sea town of Gelendzhik. The town's mayor has said that 441 people, more than 80 vehicles and firefighting planes and helicopters had been deployed to combat the forest fires, which had engulfed 118 hectares of land. The local administration has asked the residents to volunteer to help the emergency services. Forest fires are rare on Russia's humid Black Sea coast, but much of Europe has sweltered in a series of heat waves this summer, causing blazes across the continent. The EU Civil Protection Mechanism has sent a total of 12 aircraft, 400 firefighters and 60 vehicles to Greece to help in what it says is the largest wildfire ever recorded in the EU. The EU said over 81,000 hectares had been burnt in the Alexandroupolis region of Greece's northeast, making it the largest wildfire since the European Forest Fire Information System. At least 20 people have been killed so far. While summer wildfires are common in Greece, the government says conditions, which the scientists link to climate change, have made them more intense this year. NASA scientists have said they are preparing for the arrival of a NASA spacecraft that will be carrying samples from an asteroid named Bennu. NASA's OSIRIS-REx spacecraft reached Bennu in 2018 and departed in May 2021 on a 2-year journey back to planet Earth. The spacecraft found traces of hydrogen and oxygen molecules, part of the recipe for water and thus the potential for life embedded in the asteroid's rocky surface. According to NASA, the spacecraft is carrying an estimated 8.8 ounces of material collected from Bennu in 2020. It is set to enter the Earth's atmosphere on the 24th of September. The night sky was lit up with the magnificent super blue moon on Wednesday. The celestial spectacle has captured the attention of many people. People from around the world gazing into the sky, sucking in the beauty of the super blue moon, capturing the rare occurrence. Many even posted the majestic sight on various social media platforms. The moon is considered a supermoon when it reaches the closest point to Earth in its orbit, making it look much larger from Earth, increasing 7% in diameter. A panda cub, extremely difficult to reproduce in captivity, became the first animal of this species to be born at the Moscow Zoo. According to the Moscow administration, the cub weighed 150 grams at birth, and it is still unknown whether it is male or female. The panda parents arrived in Moscow in 2019 to mark the 17th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between Russia and China. Both the pandas immediately accepted the newborn and are currently observed by specialists. Banking giant UBS has said that its merger with former rival Credit Suisse and full absorption of its Swiss unit would cause 3,000 job cuts in Switzerland in the coming years. Meanwhile, UBS posted a whopping $28.88 billion profit in the second quarter this fiscal. Remember, UBS paid a mere $3 billion to acquire Credit Suisse in March to save it from bankruptcy. However, UBS has lost almost $4 billion from its merger of Credit Suisse. The Indian government's pioneering initiative, ONDC, is providing a huge platform for the growth of 4 key sectors, including financial services, agriculture, manufacturing, and e-commerce retail, according to a report by Deloitte. The Open Network for Digital Commerce is an initiative of the Indian Commerce and Industry Ministry to create a facilitative model to help small retailers take advantage of digital commerce. Asian currencies rose as the US economy expanded at a slower pace due to the Fed's data-dependent approach, leading to a weaker dollar and edgy markets. The Indian rupee opened slightly higher against the US dollar, following gains in Asian currency markets. Traders are now awaiting the release of GDP by the Indian government that could potentially decide where the dollar goes from here.